Welcome to the Parkland Report. My name is Seamus Riley. Joining me today, Professor Brian Noodleman, who is in charge of Parkland's Service Learning Program here at the college. Welcome to the Parkland Report.
Thanks, Seamus.
Brian, tell me a little bit about service learning and the work that you do here at Parkland College.
Right, well, I am the Service Learning Coordinator of the college, and basically what I'm doing is trying to shorten the distance between the college and the community that surrounds it. So ultimately, we're trying to get students active in the community through service learning, so trying to connect their volunteer experiences with their academic work of the classroom, and then also just doing some volunteering. You know, we have the Martin Luther King Day of Service, we have volunteer fairs. Ultimately, we're trying to encourage folks to get out there and do good work in the community.
Where did the idea of service learning first originate, or do you know?
Wow, you want to go. I have to take it back to the 80s there. Yeah. It probably came from experiential education, kind of internships and that type of programming. The idea that students can learn outside of a classroom as opposed to in addition to in a classroom. And I think it just branched off from there. The idea of moving from a work study type of program, you know, nursing students working in a hospital, to all different kinds of programs. You have students in general psychology going to a nursing home, right, and having conversations with the residents of the nursing home. But that could be an opportunity for students to learn.
So part of your job here is to kind of work with faculty to kind of coordinate sort of service learning opportunities for our students, and you mentioned like psychology.
Right.
Give me some examples of some other sort of subject areas that lend themselves well,
sure,
or even in your own area, which is, you know, teaching writing.
That's right.
How do you coordinate, or how do you structure a relationship with the community?
Sure. Well, definitely it's reaching out to the community, the different nonprofit organizations, seeing what their needs are, seeing how they envision Parkland folks contributing to the support of their mission. And then it's going to the faculty, as you said. We have the Homer Club, which I'm very proud of, 10 years at Garden Hills. A lot of our volunteers there are intro to education students, right? So it makes sense. These are students that are at least thinking about becoming teachers. Sure. And so why not have as a member of that class, coming out and volunteering once a week, working with 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders, getting to see what it's like to work with an elementary school student, and hopefully deepening some kind of awareness of some course objective that the education students are dealing with. So it's that kind of stuff. I think it's ultimately trying to make nice seeing there's a natural pairing between what an organization is trying to do. You know, they mentioned the nursing home, right? They would like their clients, their residents, to have social experiences. Sure. So having general psych students, Travis Sola deciding, no, I really want my students to learn a little bit about differences in people, learning about different cultures, different generations, so that it kind of furthers an idea that's being raised in the classroom.
So for the faculty, it doesn't mean you have to do 100% of your class isn't oriented toward the service learning piece. It can be an individual assignment, or a project, or a certain amount of time. So faculty can easily sort of engage with a number of not-for-profits.
Right.
So for example, whether it be a graphic design project or an English writing project, it's pretty easy to mirror with.
My job is to try to convince faculty that I will provide the necessary support. What I need them to do, especially from fields that I'm less than knowledgeable about, to think about the class, think about the course objectives, thinking about the learning objectives, and can we then think of a community organization experience that would connect with that? But that's right. I mean, it often seems daunting for faculty who kind of know their material, know the way they like to teach their material. Well, here's a different way of teaching. Here's a different way of guiding your students to understanding a different way of thinking about this concept. But I think you're right. I think ultimately it just is a leap of faith, trust in me, trust in the organizations that we work with, and more often than not we have a successful experience.
Do you find that our students are coming to Parkland now with some sort of sense of connection to the community already, or thinking, whether it be through their experience in you know, youth group or in their high school,
religious institutions,
right? That there's sort of like an expectation, or this is something they find rewarding or fulfilling. Not necessarily a resume building piece, but certainly part of what they see as their role as a good member of our society. I
think that's right. I think a lot of students, whether it's sports teams or whatever, it has been more and more encouraging these folks as a team or as a religious institution to do community service, to do good work. So and that's great, right? Volunteerism is awesome. From what I'm interested in, what I get really interested in is right, can this become an opportunity to learn? Not necessarily, you know, patting oneself on the back
Sure.
is great. You're a good person for doing work in the community that benefits others. But what can we learn from that experience? Can we talk about that experience? Can we write about that experience so that, again, a different way of learning, a different way of being aware of our community, of the problems in our community, different ways of thinking about solutions.
Sure.
All of that is possible, I think, when we kind of take a step out of the classroom and move away from books and move away from lecture,
right.
and through experience.
So aside from the actual academic sort of exercise, there's
That's
this
right.
greater social and psychological engagement with, you know, what this all means in the bigger context of our experiences.
I think that's right. And to even bring it back to practicalities, intro to education students who are designing promotional materials for nonprofit organizations. Those students, that's not just a test. It's not just here's an exercise. They're designing something, and then the nonprofit comes in and says, that's the winner. We like that design, and the students are like,
Sure.
that's really a powerful experience, powerful learning experience.
Right.
Yeah.
We have a fantastic example of this that's sort of been, like you said, celebrating its 10th anniversary, and that's the Homework Club. Can you talk a little bit about how you first sort of thought of this as a
Right.
way we could contribute, and talk a little bit about some of the connections that we've built over the years?
Yeah, so 10 years now. It started with encouraging my English 102 students to do some volunteer work in the schools. By doing that for several years, I met Lauren Smith, who's still, at the time, was a volunteer coordinator at Garden Hills Elementary. She's now gone on to be the community outreach coordinator for Champaign Unit 4 schools. She came to me one day and said, we can build an after-school program. We can, it was small, but Garden Hills has great, they have needs. It's a challenging school. And so we can do this. We can have your students come, and maybe education students and general psych students and child psychology students, and we can start an after-school program. That's how it started. It was a leap of faith, and so for 10 years now, we've really become a part of that school. I mean, the kids there went from not knowing what Parkland was, even though it's across the street
Sure.
from us. You know, what's Parkland? They knew the University of Illinois. Now the students know Parkland. They know that there's this other college in town that might be a possibility down the road. There's this thing called college that they
Right.
could be thinking about. And they have these positive experiences with our Parkland students. Most of our volunteers are students. They're working with third, fourth, and fifth graders, and they're having pretty strong, powerful, positive experiences, working with the same children over and over each week, reading with them, working on their homework, mentoring. It's a positive experience, and the kids now really look forward to being a part of that, the Garden Hill students, to be a part of this program.
So, like initially, sort of, I think it started off as like we'll have some students come in and sort of help with students who are there after school
That's right.
to work with the homework and sort of do that.
Right.
Has it become more structured in terms of the ways in which we're preparing our students to interact with students? I know you mentioned education students.
Right.
So have we become a little bit more refined in some areas depending on the students?
Sure. I think at some point the administration at Garden Hills said what we really need help with is literacy. That was like, we have all these people, this people power, these Parkland folks coming in, willing to help. Homework is great, but actually more importantly is we have students who are reading grade level, 2 grade levels below where they're at. How about they read books together? How about they talk about what they're reading? And so we've gone from kind of a go help them with their homework to doing structured orientations, talking about literacy, talking about how to read with a student who is struggling a bit. Again, this is tying into education classes, where in child development especially, where they know this in the back of their mind. They read that chapter
Right.
on how children learn and now they're seeing it. They get to see working with with a child there. And so we have been more purposeful in giving the volunteers an idea of the challenges. To be very honest, we want to create a positive experience, but Garden Hills is a challenging school with students who often come from challenging homes and challenging academics. We think we prepare our volunteers well to meet those challenges.
And I think for the children as well, I think it's important for them to understand that there's a context, a larger, wider context of the learning that they're doing in their school, that it's not just a once-off thing. And maybe it works as well for our students, that there's something that happens outside of the classroom itself that is more valuable and sort of helps a lot more. And sort of, instantiate some real understanding of what the value of this experience of education is.
Right. I mean, as I was mentioning, a lot of the students at Garden Hills that we work with, they know they're I don't know how they would phrase it, but they're struggling a little bit academically, and so they get to be a part of the homework club, where we try to make this a positive experience. Often these students are on the verge of, and we've heard it, where some students will say, "I'm dumb, I'm not, I can't read, I'm just stupid." And so our Parkland students come in, and they could be a real positive. This is beyond academics, just kind of getting the Garden Hill students to re-see themselves, and coaching them on, and like, that's good work, that's good reading, that was a tough book, positive reinforcement. The kids often come out, we do, kind of informal measurements of the Garden Hills kids, but definitely the teachers say these kids are having a positive experience. They have a better attitude. They are working harder. They're getting their homework done. All the things that they're looking for.
Isn't this something as well for our own students here at Parkland, that many of whom think, well, I'm not very academically oriented, or I don't think I can make it in college, or that many of our students who come in here are thinking, maybe I'm not as good as the person sitting next to me?
Absolutely.
Are we finding that our own students are benefiting then from this experience?
Absolutely. I mean, we have tons of stories that we could tell of students that came in, I'm undecided, I'm not sure what I'm doing here. Sure. Right? And they'll like, okay, this is something. They'll have an experience at the homework club. They'll have experience wherever, at the nursing home, and it starts to make sense. Like this idea that things are connected. And so, yeah, I think that's right. It gives our students, an opportunity to have to display learning beyond a test, beyond a report. Right? I've had, again, one more quick story of students who have stopped being a student in my class for whatever reason. They withdrew, and they continue to be a volunteer at the homework club. Isn't that fantastic? Yeah. They're still having they're doing real good work in the community. Right. They might not be successful this semester in my class,
but it's a part of the learning process. Right. Well, it's engaging the community and learning. It's a fantastic example of what we do. Thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
We'll be back after a short break.
Love the idea of organization. I love Excel. Spreadsheets keep me on track, and so this seemed like the perfect opportunity to use those skills and learn even more about it.
I like how Parkland is small. You could get a lot of one-on-one help, and it's a lot of resources here. We have the CTC lab.
It's for students who need to be computer ready to take any level of college courses. We offer everything from keyboarding classes to application courses like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Access. We offer a Google class, we offer Outlook, a beginning computer literacy course, and we offer a computer basics course.
I think all of my classes really apply to my daily work. The Microsoft classes especially, I use Word and Access every single day. So those are really, really important skills to learn here at Parkland.
All of the Microsoft Office classes, Word, Excel, Publisher, because you learn things that you never thought those programs could do, and so you can do even more with it. The teachers are great. They work with you a lot more than bigger universities where you have classes of like 400 people. They actually take time to meet with you one-on-one and really help you through things.
I just think the individualized attention that you get here at Parkland is great. The class sizes are small, so you always feel like you're never just one of many sitting out there in the class. I always felt comfortable asking questions, and the teachers were helpful.
They're knowledgeable in Microsoft Office products, knowledgeable in calendaring, knowledgeable in just communication. Their communication skills are really, really good.
Take them, get them. I think that it's a very good investment to have a Parkland students. From our experience, they've been extremely successful in our office, and so I would encourage more employers to jump on board and be able to get those Parkland students and invest in them.
Developmental Services Center is looking for direct support professionals to support people with disabilities to enjoy a life full of opportunities and greater independence. If you want to make a difference in someone's life every day and you are looking for a rewarding career opportunity, come work with us.
Come work with us.
Come work with us.
For more information about these rewarding opportunities, please visit our website or give us a call.
Come work with us.
Today we have decided to bring the Garden Hills Parkland College Homer Club to Parkland College. We've always done field trips here, usually once a semester, but we figured let's actually do what we do at Garden Hills twice a week. Let's do it at the college and show the college what we're doing. The more things change, the more they stay the same. I think the basis has always been the same. It's always been having Parkland students working one-on-one, one-on-two with Garden Hills kids, 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. We've actually increased the kind of the mentoring that we do now with the kids. We really found the relationships that are built between the Parkland students and the Garden Hills students was one that became friends. And so we're still very much academically focused, but we've included more kind of getting to know you activities and just opportunities for them to bond a little bit more. Just reading books is a way, reading fun books, right, is a way for them to increase their literacy, increase their ability to read more complicated materials. And then there's also, we're introducing the idea of college to them. I mean, when we started the program 10 years ago, if you asked the Garden Hills kids, do you know what Parkland is? Now, a lot of them were not, even though we're right across the street from the Garden Hills neighborhood, they weren't terribly familiar with the college. A lot of these tutors are coming from intro to education classes, child psychology classes, occupational therapy, the honors program, or just volunteers, right? It's really interesting for the folks who are coming from the educational disciplines. Often the classes are tying in, right? They're writing about their experiences at the Homer Club, and in the classes they're talking about them. They're talking about these experiences and how it connects with learning objectives, course goals, the stuff of the classes. We've had a lot of folks go from undecided to I'm going to work with kids, either early childhood or elementary ed. The Homer Club gave them an idea of a better sense of how the work they're doing here and how it might benefit them down the road.
Welcome back to Parkland Report. Joining me now is Josh Clark. He's an American Vista volunteer. Josh, welcome to the Parkland Report.
Thanks for having me.
Explain exactly what your title is and the relationship with the program that you have.
So I'm an AmeriCorps Vista, serving as the volunteer coordinator here on campus. AmeriCorps is a national service program. It's the easiest way to explain it is the domestic Peace Corps.
Sure.
So you do service within the 50 states.
So what made you decide that you wanted to be an AmeriCorps Vista volunteer?
So last year I worked with AmeriCorps and CCC, which is kind of a reimagining of the CCC from the Great Depression.
Okay. And
so in that program you work in a team and you travel around doing different service projects. So I worked in a Native American reservation in Pawhuska, Oklahoma, a small town, building an eco park. Then I went to Kansas City and prepared income taxes for 3 months. And then after that, I went to Taos, New Mexico to work with the Veterans Respite Center, doing farming and construction. So I did a wide range of activities with very different people, and I was doing direct service. So I was doing hands-on service.
So what's your academic background, and what made you interested in thinking after you'd finished school that I want to do this?
So I went to Indiana University, and I majored in history and minored in religious studies. And just throughout my life, I've been very interested in giving back to the community, working with people, and just seeing how you can get involved. I was raised in a very outgoing church that was focused on social justice, so that's kind of rubbed off on me in my later life.
So what did you experience as a volunteer going around the country? I mean, you're going to very, very small places, you're meeting lots of different people. Was it a personally enriching experience for you?
Yes, it was very hard because you're working and living with the same 10 people, and then you're going in and working with communities that they may be very poor or they have diverse people, and just every day you don't know what to expect. And from round to round, from different project to different project, you're doing different things. So my first round, every day I had a chainsaw in my hand, cutting down trees, clearing the woods to get it ready for a burn. The next project I had, I was sitting in front of a laptop doing taxes from 8 to 5 every single day. So you do a wide range of activities. And through that, I saw the value that direct service, the hands-on services, but I also saw the value of indirect service. And as an AmeriCorps Vista, you do indirect service. So indirect service is coordinating, finding connections, creating partnerships, just trying to facilitate direct service of others.
So clearly there's tremendous need in this country, which I think sometimes people are surprised by. Did you find that the folks that you worked with benefited, that they felt connected? I mean, did you make a difference in their lives?
Absolutely. When I was in Kansas City, my team of 10 people, or I guess 9, a team of 9 people over the course of 2 months, we got $3 million in tax returns for people. And we did it completely free. So we were able to maximize the returns for low-income people or people with disabilities or elderly people. And for some people, that makes up a large percent of their annual income. So to be able to do that without having to pay $300 or $400 or $500 to a preparer, it makes a huge difference.
So then you decided that, having traveled around a little bit of the United States, that you might want to come back to Champaign. Were you aware of an opening here at Parkland, or how did you find out about it?
During my last round in Taos, New Mexico, I was just looking to see what I could do when I got home. And I just happened to go to the AmeriCorps website and search to see if anything was in town. And there was 2 positions. And I saw that one was at Parkland, being a volunteer coordinator, working with Garden Hills. And since this is a community I grew up in, I just thought it'd be such a wonderful experience to give back to the community that gave me so much.
So tell me a little bit about your day-to-day life here as an AmeriCorps Vista volunteer. Who do you work with, and how do you begin to structure things here?
So my main duty is working with the Garden Hills Homework Club. So a lot of that is at the beginning of the semester is recruiting and then training volunteers who want to work with that. And then for the rest of the semester, I go to every homework club and either work with children or just help the volunteers in any way that's needed. And besides that, I have a large other responsibilities from working with the volunteer fair, setting up the volunteer fairs, where about 20 community partners come in and just introduce themselves to Parkland students, and either to try to recruit volunteers or just to promote what resources they have to give.
Tell me about your first impressions when you first learned about Garden Hills and the homework club, and had you been aware of it before you had left, or was it brand new information for you?
It was brand new. I grew up in Unit 4 schools, so I have an affinity for that. And just knowing that there was an after-school program giving back to, I think, the school that has the highest poverty rate in Unit 4 schools, so there's a much greater need there. I just thought that was a really wonderful program to be able to just have one-on-one instruction with the children.
Tell me a little bit about your experience of the children at Garden Hills and how they've responded to the Parkland students who have come into their school to work with them.
I think that's the most interesting thing, is just to see how quickly they grow a connection with the tutors. It's something you're not expecting, but I remember last semester we had a tutor who had to miss the second week, and I was trying to tell the Garden Hill student that the tutor wasn't going to show up, and she was kind of despondent. She didn't want to work with any other tutor. She only wanted to work with that tutor. So even after just 1 week, they just grow incredibly attached. So just to have someone coming in once a week or twice a week to work with 1 hour with them, they just form a very quick bond.
And is there a similar sort of experience for the Parkland students then? Do they become attached to the school and the program and the students that they're working with?
Yes, we have a lot of tutors who go from semester to semester who work, again, sometimes with the same student, because that connection does grow. And the tutors do want to work with the same student, and they're excited to see the student every day or once a week.
Do you find that the Parkland students also begin to develop a bond and a sort of a peer pressure sort of environment where they're making sure that they're fulfilling that requirement and make sure they don't miss as little as they can?
Well, because you are working one-on-one, if tutors stop showing up, you then have to work with 2 students, or, it makes it harder for other people. So there is a bit of holding everyone accountable by, we're all in this together. We make our lives easier if we all kind of come on time, chip in, and do what we need to do. So there is that sense of community building within the Garden Hills students and the Parkland students.
Do you get a chance to work and ask about the impact that the students that working in this program has on our Parkland students, or either qualitatively or quantitatively?
Well, just I work in the building, so I'll be walking around and see people, and they're always excited about, okay, next week we have the homework club, or, oh, I'm so sorry, I have a test coming up, I need to study, I can't be there, and it's not something they're just saying to a supervisor, it's something they're actually meaning. So just by interacting with people, they seemingly all have a very positive interaction with the Garden Hills Homework Club.
So this is a relatively small sort of engagement. Do you envisage ways in which this could be a larger program in terms of more Parkland students at more different levels of engagement with the students?
So the Garden Hills Homework Club runs from 3 to 4 on Mondays and Wednesdays. So a lot of people, if they have a prior commitment or a class or practice or anything like that, they simply just can't work those days. So one way that could happen is expanding the days, working with more professors to increase the incentives for working with the Garden Hills Homework Club, or incorporating it into their curriculum for the semester, and providing more of a service learning opportunity to more students on campus.
I mean, we're aware of the benefits mutual for both the Garden Hills students as well as the Parkland students. Are there other projects or opportunities that you're looking at, whether at Garden Hills or in other areas of the community, to expand our service learning reach?
Yeah. So one thing I started this past year is working with Salt and Light, because they run the local VITA program, which is Volunteer Income Tax Assistance, which I worked at in Kansas City. And so I've talked to a couple accounting professors and spoken to their classes to try to get people who've taken an income tax class to then go and volunteer with Salt and Light. And we've had about 5 people who've done that. And it's a great experience, because you get to put your learning into action by sitting down with someone and preparing their taxes. So I think that's a really great example of service learning, where it provides a clear benefit to the community and provides a clear benefit to your learning.
And so do the students respond well to that? I mean, that must be an interesting thing for an accounting student, especially who, maybe has a different understanding of what income tax returns are, or what it means to pay income tax, dealing with the population for whom, like you said, this can be a significant change in their life, right?
Yeah. So having that interaction of, you're not just doing book work of these fake models, of you're actually talking to someone and having them explain why their tax return looks the way it does, whether they worked a bunch of different jobs or they had to go on unemployment or something, and just having to sit down and say why your taxes change from year to year, explaining that's an immensely valuable tool to have as an accountant. So to be able to develop that is a great opportunity.
Do you also get a chance to interact with our Parkland students and maybe ask them to consider becoming part of AmeriCorps as a VISTA volunteer, or expanding their own volunteering?
Yes, I always try to promote AmeriCorps. I've had a great experience in it, and there's a lot of positions. Either you want to travel, that's a great place. NCCC is a great way to travel around. Do you want to explore a new city? Look at a VISTA position there, and that's a good way to kind of get your foot in the door and network in a new city. There's programs that just run over the summer. So there's a lot of different choices that you can do to find your interests and your time.
What about for our Garden Hills students? Do you sort of get a chance to talk with them at all about the idea of this interactive voluntary sort of engagement with the community? They're young, but do they get some sense of, here are people giving back or giving of their time, and that this is an important kind of like philosophical or psychological concept for them?
I think it is, because they know these are busy college students, many hold jobs. They're involved in different ways. So for them to take even just an hour and dedicate it to one student, I think the Garden Hills students pick up on how much they're giving. And the Garden Hills students know they're not being paid, or they don't get a stipend, that it's really they're being there because they want to give back.
Do you find then that hopefully that this is sort of encouraging them to continue to pursue education, because I'm hoping that some of our Parkland students have come from similar backgrounds or similar experiences, right?
I think that's one benefit of the program, is it shows positive college role models. That it shows maybe this is a person that's very similar to you are right now, and they're now a successful college student. And it's kind of hard to show how you get from an elementary student to a college student. But any way that we can help build that pathway to higher education, I think that's really very valuable.
Well, that's a great way to end it, Josh. Thank you so much for being here on Parkland Report, and best of luck with your work as an AmeriCorps VISTA volunteer here on campus. That's it for this time. We'll see you back here next time on Parkland Report.